All right, so now let's look at the 6x beta 1 routine performed at home. First things first, we always take the time to set up our workout and plan in our head exactly where we will move exercise by exercise. Now the 6x beta routine consisting of 2 circuits, 3 exercises each, giving us exactly 6 exercises. We start off with the calf raise, moving on to the back extension, the leg raise, then that's the first circuit. The second circuit, we then move on to the hip thrust or the weighted bridge, targeting the gluteal muscles. And then we do the tricep extension, targeting the back of the arm, the triceps, and we finish off with the bicep curl. Okay, so remember with the beta routines, they're optional. They aren't mandatory and they should be done at least one day after your 6x routines where you have some recovery. But these are great routines to really target these smaller to medium muscle groups that we feel we would love to work on. And so this is a demonstration on exactly how I would perform my 6x beta 1 routine at home. So whenever it says if it's alpha 1 or beta 1, remember that this means that each exercise is going to be unique. So there's 6 unique exercises per routine, whereas whenever you hear alpha 2 or beta 2, that's where we take 3 most important exercises and we repeat them for 2 cycles, also giving us 6 exercises. Again, I take my time to look through my phone, I pull up previous data, and I set very specific targets for opportunities of improvement. But please keep in mind that our focus is not so much on improvement here with these exercises. Okay, so there should be a much higher pressure for progress in our alpha routines, not so much our beta routines. So here it's more about getting a minimum of time and attention and doing the work with these routines, just getting some direct resistance to these very important and smaller muscle groups. Okay, so as you can see here, same cadence, going for 12 reps, 3 seconds down, fast up, pause at the top, and slowly down. 1, 2, 3, up all the way to the top, hold, and slowly down. And I actually go all the way down, so actually you'll feel a bit of a stretch as I get to reach the bottom. Okay, fast up, that's the positive, pause, and 1, 2, 3 for the negative. Now you also notice that I took about 10. I started the timer, and instead of rushing into the exercise, what you'll do is you'll just wait until it gets to the 10th second, and you'll basically start counting your 5-second rep cadence from there until you get to 1 minute and 10 seconds. Because remember, it's exactly 1 minute that will allow us to get 12 reps, exactly what I did there. And it's brutal when you do it right. Okay, so I move on to the next leg. And remember with this routine, so the big difference with doing your beta at home compared to the gym, unless you have a leg press at home, but that's not the case for most people, you'll notice that we'll have to do 1 set per leg, which obviously is going to increase our workout time exactly double, right? So if we did a calf press on the leg press machine at the gym, we only need to spend 1 minute for both calves. Whereas with the dumbbell calf raise, we're going to have to spend time working on each leg separately. Now there's 2 exercises where we have a unilateral movement, meaning we focus on 1 limb at a time, and that's going to be the tricep extension and the calf raise. Again, now we're spending 2 minutes per muscle group rather than 1. But again, it's still very effective. It's only a 2-minute difference, really. But you should watch if you haven't already, the 6x beta 1 gym routine to compare the routines, one done at the gym and again this one done at home. Now, again, after each exercise, insert the values for each exercise because you're not going to remember them. So if you did 12 reps, pick up your phone, insert 12, and move on to the next exercise. Okay, so moving on to the back extension. Here I'm really focused on my upper back, it's squeezing my shoulder blades together, while also I'm trying to raise up as high as I can with my thoracic spine, targeting the lower back, okay? And then I actually hold it at the top. So I get to the top, hold, and I lower it down, 1, 2, 3. Again, contract, hold it, and then 1, 2, 3, and I repeat that. So the 3-second negative in this case is more like a brief respite. You're actually kind of just taking the load off a little bit, and then you're coming right into it. Now, ideally, what you want here is a GHD machine. You get a little bit more of a greater range of motion. And so, but again, I don't have a GHD machine in this gym. So this is what you can do if you don't have one, and most people will not have one or can't afford one. So this is a great alternative. Most people think of this as the Superman, but instead of just a isometric hold, here we actually do also, 5-second reps, aiming for about 12. And again, if you can go more, you can definitely do so. And remember what I said in the beginning here. Our focus is not to necessarily get a perfect fail on the 13th rep kind of cadence as we can with our alpha routines. Here, even if you feel like, even if I did 15 reps there, I'm not too worried or focused about having to make progress, going to the next level for these specific beta exercises. It's more about just taking them to failure and getting some direct resistance to these exercises. And they're not even necessary. Remember, this is optional. Okay, move on to the next exercise. Remember, I did my calves, I did my back, and now I am moving on to my abdominal exercise. So again, together they make my core, right? My back extension with my leg raise is focusing on and covering my entire core. Okay, so here I'm doing a straight leg raise, or straight leg raise instead of a bent leg. And so for you as a beginner, number one, you may not even be able to hang for a long period or for that long, right? So your limiting factor might be your grip holding on to the actual pull-up bar or the rings. And so I do, we'll have videos for you to show you an easier variation, but this is the one that I do with my legs straight. So pause at the top and the negative, 1, 2, 3, positive fast, pause, and a slow negative, 3 seconds. Again, trying to get exactly to 12. And so this is a really good set. Extending your legs is really a great way to make this exercise harder without having to add, let's say, ankle weights or added weight to the actual exercise. By decreasing your leverage, you make it a lot harder in the same way that in going up in weight for a particular exercise makes it harder in terms of load rather than in leverage. Okay. So now I finished my first circuit, right? So that is the lower body, calves, and then upper body, core, lower back, and abdominals, right? So I just finished my first circuit. Now I move on to my second circuit. Now a beta, a 6x beta 2 routine would basically be what I just did, repeated twice. So do calves again, I would do lower back again, and I would do leg raise again, and then that would be done. Whereas this is beta 1, and so these are 6 unique exercises. So now we move on to the glute bridge. Notice that that does not count as my first rep. It actually, I took some time just to get into the position as you saw me moving my feet. So make sure not to rush into the exercise, right? Also, another thing to notice here, I can't see the timer here and I'm not timing myself. And so this is where you really have to, feel the exercise. So you can count it, 1, 2, 3, up, hold for 1, and 1, 2, 3. I don't even mind having a slightly longer pause in the fully contracted position because this will allow me to reach failure faster. Otherwise, this load, it's not enough. And so the way that I make it a little bit harder is getting into a slightly better position, into the perfect position for full contraction. And also what I do is I hold my pause for 1 second longer, really contract, and making that muscle-mind connection, right? And even, again, I'm not going to buy more expensive weights to, infinitely go up in this exercise. I would rather just do more reps, at least go to failure, even if it's 20 reps. Because really the focus here is not on, hitting every exercise with a perfect 12 rep target. It's more really just, reaching failure, getting direct resistance, targeting these muscle groups. So now that was the fourth exercise, or the first exercise of my second circuit, which was the lower body exercises, followed now by 2 upper body exercises. And our first upper body exercise for every circuit is always targeting the posterior of the body, so the back of the body, right? And the anterior of the body is the front of the body. So remember, if we did squat, pull, push, we would then do a pull-up, right? So we would do a pull-up, which would target the back as our first upper body exercise. And then we would do a push-up, which would target the front of the body or the chest as the second upper body exercise of the circuit. Likewise, here I'm doing triceps, because triceps, it's a larger muscle group than the bicep, and so we want to do it first. Okay, so notice again, the fully contracted position is my arm fully extended. I hold it there for a second. This is actually quite hard to do. So I'm only using a 5 kg weight here. You'll probably use a 2.5 kg or something even lighter than that. So again, going for 12 reps, it's very easy to hit failure with your tricep and bicep with very small weight. Now, I'm going to make a very important point here. It has nothing to do with the weight, the type of dumbbell, or it has nothing to do with the tool. It has everything to do with how you use this tool, right? So the quality of the exercise is not dependent on the equipment you have. It's based on how you use that equipment and how you use your body in position to that equipment to get the best contraction possible, right? So people always ask me, Lorenzo, how do I know I'm doing the exercise right? Well, number one, the exercise that allows you to get the best muscle contraction as defined by the greatest number of muscle fibers that you can recruit in a safe way is going to be the best exercise. And so, right, you start out mimicking my form, but eventually you'll feel like you can kind of move around, right? You can move your body in a different position. You try a different weight. You can just sort of experiment with different positions until you feel like you get the best contraction in that position, and that's going to be the right exercise for you. Again, following, if you're a complete beginner, you would want to mimic this form, at least in the beginning, until you become so sensitive to the actual exercise itself that you can start changing your position any way you like until you feel like you're in the optimal position to get the maximum contraction. All right, so now I move on to my bicep curl and the sixth exercise, the last exercise of this routine. Do not underestimate how hard this workout can be. Again, it's not about the exercises or the number of rounds you do, the number of circuits, or how long you train. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with how the quality of muscular contraction. The more intense and the more metabolic stress that we can create in each exercise, the harder it's going to be, and the more of a total whole body metabolic effect that we will stimulate. Okay, again, same thing here as you saw in my gym routine, all the way to the top. Instead of now using dumbbells, I used a cable machine, but same thing. Pause at the top, and you can even squeeze your hands at the top. Lower it down, and you don't even have to, don't fully extend your arms, you will lose tension. So keep that tension constantly. Keep it there. And again, fast positive and a negative of 3 seconds. Pause at the top, contract, and 1, 2, 3, up again. That's it. And you don't hit failure until you hit failure. And that is when you cannot do another concentric rep, another positive, right? You fell at the positive. You'll notice that I'm actually trying to lift it as fast as I can with good form. But at this point, I'm so weak that it feels so heavy. And there, I hit failure. And I'm done. And that is how you do a 6x beta 1 routine at home.